Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Live at the Waterhole. My name's Kelly and I will be with you for the next 2 hours. The first thing I want to do is apologise profusely yesterday. I had some tech issues, to be perfectly honest, so I then had to pop into town, in a little bush town, and locate a microphone. So hopefully my sound will be better today, fingers crossed. But thank you all so much for joining me this afternoon, or this morning, or this evening, depending on where you are in the world. Remember, we are live and interactive. I love getting all your questions through. It really does get me thinking and being reminded just how little we know about the amazing nature that we all live in. There's two lovely male waterbuck here having a little sniff, and I can see it's like a black-headed heron just sneaking out the left of the picture there. Other way? Other side. I'm sure that was a black-headed heron just sneaking off to do some fishing. Anyone that was with us here on, what day is it today? Wednesday. On Monday, firstly, thank you so much for returning. It's hugely appreciated. But on Monday we did have a good discussion about these yellow flowers. And I faithfully promised that I would ask one of the fabulous rangers there at Tau Game Lodge if they would do a little bit more investigation for me. So Silas, if you're listening, thank you very much for investigating further. Oh, there's our black-headed heron. Hello. You're off to do some fishing. And it turns out I got some beautiful pictures through, and we're fairly sure they are wild sunflowers, or Verbicina encheloides. Wild sunflowers, they've got multiple different names, so many different common names. We've got everything from, I think, a golden crown. There was a couple of other common names that we used, but it just goes to show how careful we have to be when we're identifying flowers. I must admit I'm not very good at it, but yeah, we think it's the golden crownbeard or wild sunflower, Verbicina encheloides. But it's not actually formally named as an invasive. It does originate from southwest United States and Mexico. Also, it's spread across North America, the Middle East, Spain, Argentina, Australia, and some of the Pacific Islands as well. Believed they are possibly came to South Africa as a ornamental flower in the 1900s, but they do apparently have lots of different uses. Can be used for things like arthritis, fever, skin problems, and also believed to have anti-inflammatory properties. So go golden crownbeard or wild sunflowers. The mystery is solved. Penelope Kenyon, Tau is becoming a favourite place. It is indeed. It's one of my favourite places. I spent lots of my time here. I cut my teeth in the industry here, and it was my home for 3 years. It's a very special place. Look at these boys. Mercedes Bean, happy Wednesday. Thank you very much, Mercedes. I hugely appreciate you wishing us all a happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday to you too. So that was an interesting behaviour there from those two male waterbuck. I'm absolutely fascinated by animal behaviour. I do specialise in canines, but I'm later in August. I need to finalise booking it. I am going to be doing some work with some captive wildlife and behaviour enrichment on a behaviour enrichment program. and the behavioural analysis of captive wildlife to try and make animals that are in captivity make their lives better and more fulfilling. I'm very excited about doing that. Penelope, you've got many of those flowers down the freeway to Durban, especially in summer. Yeah, they are everywhere. If you search them, there's a lot of yellow flowers, which is why I asked the fabulous Tau Rangers to send me some photos, because we can't, that they're yellow flowers. As far as we know, I'm 90% sure that's what they are. But if you have a look at the petals, you need to look at the leaves, you have a look at the petals. But Penelope, if you search Verbicina enchiloides, hopefully you will also be able to confirm that they're the same flowers that you see on those freeways. So there's two male waterbuck. They're two big males, they're two adult males, both in prime condition. Probably both have breeding opportunities, but they are not fighting currently. Ah, look at these little goosies. Look at these little goosies. They've done well to get all these young ones to such a good size. Super high mortality rates in these Egyptian goose. We often, if they do have little ones by a pan that we are local to, we often sort of watch the numbers dwindling over time. But these guys have done very well to get all these. I think I counted around about 10 the other day. But these two male waterbuck, they're not fighting. They had a little interaction earlier, but they didn't stab each other, they didn't kick each other, because animals don't want to hurt each other if they can avoid it, because it's dangerous. There's enough stuff going on for all of these animals out here, if being eaten by things and injury and food pressure, without fighting amongst themselves. Tony in Watford, UK. Hi, Tony, from my motherland. You've received a mailing from WWF World Wildlife Fund about the shrinking numbers of lions in the wild. What do you think would be the wider effect if we lost these magnificent creatures? Wow, that's a big question, Tony. Lots of things. The most obvious thing that springs to mind would be, ecology is really complicated, and the more I think about it, the more I realise how complicated it is. There would be impacts like, obviously it would be an absolute travesty. Lions are one of our apex predators, so they eat zebra, wildebeest, so those numbers could increase. An increase in zebra, wildebeest numbers, they're grazers. It could possibly have a detrimental effect on other grazers because there wouldn't be enough grass for the other grazers. It could change population dynamics of other predators, so it could increase. I know lions kill lots of wild dog puppies. They're known for wiping out entire dens of wild dog puppies. If there was no lions, maybe the population of wild dogs would increase. If the population of wild dogs is too high, they eat all the impalas, so the population of impalas could potentially drop. Impalas, believe it or not, actually have a quite a large impact on vegetation in the area they're feeding in. So if the number of impalas dropped, then the vegetation control that they're responsible for could get out of control. They're just the things I can think of off the top of my head. So but Tony, it's a massive question, and ecology is incredibly complex. And it would be an absolute travesty. Now that was really interesting. Those two male waterbuck again wandered together, had a little nose touch. They thought, nope, we're all good here. No need for any argy-bargy. And they've given each other space again. Beautiful demonstration of animal behaviour and how animals communicate without using violence a lot of the time, because, hey, who likes violence? I'm going to leave these two water buck here. Let's head across to Tenby Elephant Park and let's have a guess and see what might be happening across in Tenby. And we have some elephants in Tenby Elephant Park. And I think I actually said on Monday there were 5, all appeared to be male elephants, and so all bulls, and they're all just chilling under a tree together. They often in situations like that where there's groups of males, they will sometimes have a almost like a hierarchy. Often the biggest, oldest male is gonna be sort of the boss, for want of a better word. But they often, it's highly unusual that animals will determine that hierarchy through violence. They won't. They normally won't sort of injure each other because, like I said, there's enough problems out here without adding to the problem, without adding to the dangers. So they will posture, they will use body language, they will sometimes vocalize. But animals read other animals extremely well. And if there is a full-on fight or interaction, often due to breeding, or we sometimes see in male lions it could be due to breeding, or if there's a female, sometimes food aggression, well, not really aggression, food, the claiming of food. But the rest of the time they will just posture, they will tilt a head, they will flick a trunk, they will lift a tail, and everyone knows the score. This big boy is having a lovely big dust. Wow, he's getting some really good coverage there. So that I can see another one coming in from there, right behind that tree. I can just see a little bit of foot and a little bit of trunk there. Actually looks like tree trunk, but it's not moving. I only picked that up because he was walking. So this big boy behind the tree, he's got a lovely, nice sandy spot there. Excellent sand. Oh look, they're cycling through. These boys are having spa days. Cycling through the water, nice mud. Look at those Egyptian geese watching them. Anyone that says animals don't have emotions, I invite them to come and watch this elephant splashing around in the water. He looks pretty happy to me. And yes, it is functional. It's cooling him down, taking care of his skin. but I think he's also enjoying it while he's doing it. Yay! That must feel so good. And so nice that we can pick up the audio in these. Yeah, go on, give it a good splash. It's so cool that we can pick up such lovely audio on these cameras as well. So you got that. Looks like that looked like mud more than water. But see how he's getting every single bit of him. There's not going to be a single dry spot on this elephant. It actually surprises me that elephants don't spend more time in the water, or lots of animals don't. On these, I mean, it's actually cooling down quite beautifully here, up in Hoodspray, close to the Kruger Park. I think it's probably sitting around 32 today, which is beautiful this time of year, so nice. But when it's up in the 40s and you see animals standing around the edge of pans, it just makes me think, why aren't you in there? I would so be in there and as submerged as possible. Carol, have I ever seen an elephant deliberately blow water at geese or other animals at a waterhole? I'm fairly sure I have, and I think you're right, I think it was geese, but I have had water blown at me before, and I'm sure many guides out there have been in a similar situation. It was when I was working at Tau and I was in Madikwe and there was a big muddy puddle, and there was lots of space. I am a firm believer in giving elephants plenty of space. See, look, I wonder if this is a bigger bull now coming in, and I think this young boy might have graciously gone, okay, your turn. Possibly, maybe he'd had enough. But yeah, I was a good 30 or 40 metres from, maybe not that far, maybe 30 metres from this big bull, and he was drinking and having a splash in a puddle in the road, and he got me. Maybe it was less than 30 metres. How far? I'm looking out the window. How far is 30 metres? No, maybe a little bit less than that. But he managed to get the vehicle with water. So yes, I have. And I'm sure if you watch these cameras, you will also see them do that. See this? Let's watch this interaction and try and work out what's happening here. And you see how this one at the front, it's his turn. He's had a wash. He's now going to have a good scratch there. But as that elephant on the right came in, that's dusting himself now, the big elephant on the left just took a step sideways. The elephant on the right didn't rush him. He didn't chase him. But the elephant on the left there just created some space for him. And one step was enough. Maybe it could be that the elephant on the right is the bigger or older male in this group. They all know what's going on. And the one on the left just took a respectful step to the left, and everyone just carries on about their business. Animals are very aware of spatial pressure. They're very spatially aware. I always think rhino are actually a very good example of it. If you're with rhino in a vehicle, there's a very, very fine line as to how close you can be and them still be comfortable with it. Animals have different zones when you approach them, and it's a very fine line between a rhino being okay and not being okay. Not to promote a charge or anything, but just for them to move away. And it depends on the rhino, it depends on the day, it depends on various things, just like our companion animals. They have moods, they have emotions, they have good days, they have bad days. Wild animals, companion animals, no one's any different. And rhino are very susceptible to spatial pressure. And when you've been driving with rhinos for a while, you can often tell their body just changes slightly. They get a little bit more tense. And as long as you stop, they don't move. But you have to learn to read. Obviously, there's anomalies sometimes. But if you just watch those animals and how they behave, you can see they're very, very in tune to spatial pressure. So 20 metres might be fine, 19.5 metres is too close. I'm hoping to start to get to know some of these elephants soon. I know there is one, I don't think he's here though, with a big rip in his ear. It's often nice to try and get to know these animals that frequent all of these fabulous reserves that we're lucky enough to have cameras on. Lucy Cody, you're asking what the population of elephants is at Tenby Elephant Park. I think it's around 200-ish, somewhere around there. I could be wrong. Anyone is welcome to correct me. I'm more than happy to be advised on that, but I think it's somewhere around there. A nice big 30,000 hectare reserve there in Maputo land. Old Punkster, you're saying such a happy elephant. These to me do all look like very happy elephants. They're relaxed, they're calm, they're chilling, they're dusting, and while happiness can look like the over-exuberant, excited play of animals, sometimes they're also very happy when they're just resting, just relaxed, just nice and chilled. There's certainly plenty of elephants here. Jean is asking, do you have crocodiles in your rivers, perhaps? Yes, absolutely. I was taught very early on by my fabulous mentors when I was still in training. If it's bigger than a sink, there might be a crocodile in it. So we don't swim here. There was actually a crocodile in... I'm very fortunate that I live in a wildlife estate, no big five. We've got some giraffes and some zebras, and there's a nice big dam in the middle. And in theory, there's no crocodiles in it. But as the crow flies, maybe a kilometre from a river, and sure enough, someone did see one in there a while ago, and it was very ethically captured safely and gently, and he was relocated back to the river because sometimes children are in there, or dogs, or anything else, and that's not cool. I personally would be very dubious about ever letting children or dogs or me go into water sources anywhere in Africa. I tell you what I saw the other day that was super interesting. Where was it? think it was Florida. If there's anyone from the States listening, please jump in and give me a hand here. Was it Florida? There was an American alligator having a fight with an American crocodile. I saw it on social media somewhere, and I thought, I didn't know that crocodiles and alligators occurred in the same place. But I googled it, and it did say that it was the only place that they both were found naturally occurring. So that was fascinating. But please do send in any of your comments, questions, thoughts through to us, and we will get through as many as we can. So yeah, if anyone out there is listening who has seen a crocodile and an alligator together, naturally occurring in a wild environment, I would love to hear about it, because I thought that was fascinating. It's quite unusual. Nature's super clever in that it does sometimes, but it doesn't really. It's called geographical speciation from what I know, and it's unusual to find two very similar animals that require very similar resources in the same area, because that's not smart, nature, because then they would be totally competing against each other. The same as you do sometimes find white rhinos and black rhinos together or in the same area, but they have different diets and they like to hang out in different areas. So black rhinos tend to prefer thicker areas, and white rhinos tend to prefer more open grassy areas. So yeah, I'm not sure what different things American crocodiles and American alligators would need. I would say they eat similar things, and I don't know, maybe they lay nests in different ways or something. But no, I found that absolutely fascinating. I think I can hear mouse birds in the background there. Red-faced mouse birds. Do-do-do-do-do-do. Oh, I probably shouldn't do bird impressions. I've been told my bird impressions and whistling are absolutely shocking. See, this guy's also got a big chunk out of his ear. I wonder what the sexual demographic of elephants in Tembe Elephant Park is. I normally see bulls here. I'm not sure if anyone else that watches regularly can tell us how. Don't break it. Don't break it. Just there we go. How often we see females here. I can hear another bird calling in the background that I can't quite work out what it is. Or, I'm fairly sure it's not, but that almost sounded like a jackal, but that wouldn't be right. Alrighty, I think I am actually going to try and work out what the sexual demographic of elephants in Tembe Elephant Park is, because I find that very interesting. But I think let's hop across and let's see if we can do a spot of birding. Right, this is going to be interesting for me because I've never been to Kenya, so I'm going to assume these are 5 inches. And it looks like an emerald spotted wood dove, but it could be a Kenyan spotted wood dove. Oh no, it does look like an emerald spotted wood dove. And we've got some little firefinches. Sounds like a bluebird in the background. This is a lovely camera to have nice and low here. This is I can never remember which way around it is. It's either a laughing dove or a mourning dove. I think it's a mourning dove, despite the fact it sounds like it's laughing. I think that's which way around I've learnt it. Looks like a cutthroat finch there. Those firefinches look to be... I'm so glad I haven't got a camera on. My nose is right up against this screen. I'm going to go red-billed. Okay, let's stick with. They actually look like Jamesons as well. I think maybe they're Jamesons. Or they could be a Kenyan firefinch that I've never seen before. Definitely firefinches though. Happy with that. Ellie, thank you for sending your thoughts in. Living in a skyscraper, it's so important for me to be able to watch my beloved animals every day. So I'm very grateful for shows like this from Wild Earth. Thank you, Ellie. Thank you for watching. Thank you for taking part. Thank you for commenting. And most importantly, thank you for appreciating nature. You are right, it can be. I don't know what they are. They look like... I don't know what they are. Are they more cutthroat finches? Maybe they're more cutthroat finches. Kenyan cutthroat finch, I'm going with. But Ellie, yes, thank you so much for appreciating nature. It is very difficult for people who don't have the good fortune and luxury of being able to live in natural areas, in wildlife areas. There is something very special about waking up in nature, and it's something I struggle with a lot when I'm not in nature. I've just spent a few weeks in England visiting my dad, and it's a suburban area. There are a few sort of parks and open spaces that I often take myself to, but it's a suburban area. It's a built-up area. It's not as built up as some areas. It's actually out in the borders of South London and Surrey, so there are much busier areas. But I regularly have to almost run to a park or something and just have that little bit of space. And there's actually, I was looking when I was there now, there's a lot of nature in England. It takes a little bit longer to find. You have to spend a bit more time looking and be a bit more observant, but it's everywhere. Nature is everywhere. So Ellie, remember to look out your window. You might see birds if you put some flowers. I don't know if you've got a little veranda or a window box. If you put flowers or plants, the insects will come. If you give them the opportunity, they will come. Who are you, Dove? I think that probably is a emerald spotted wood dove. There's also blue spotted wood doves that we get sort of further north from us here. I don't know if they're as far north as Kenya. We can maybe check, but I've got a huge birding book that covers all of sub-Saharan Africa. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely massive. But I think emerald spotted wood doves are fairly common. So I'm going to go with emerald spotted wood dove and stick to it. This is a great level to have a camera at, though. This is super cool. Emerald spotted wood dove, I'm sticking with it. Stevie GB. Good afternoon to you too, Stevie GB. What got me interested in the wild and what path did I take? Just asking, not thinking of doing it myself. Too old for that. Firstly, Stevie GB, you're wrong. You are never too old. When I did my walking course in Mshatu in Botswana in 2011, 2012. He might be listening. I can't no, I do remember his name. His name was Philip. And there is another Dutch guy on my course, and they were, if they're listening I might get in trouble. They were well into their 60s. They weren't planning on moving here as a career, but it was an amazing experience. They did the one-year training course and they absolutely loved it. So firstly, Stevie GB, never too old for anything. As my years advance, I'm sticking to that statement. And what got me interested in the wild? Hello, squirrel. I've always enjoyed nature. Apparently, when I was tiny, if there was a river or a pond or a puddle, I would always force my parents to stop. So, hello, little squirrel. What are you? I love watching squirrels use their hands. Hands. They're so human and dexterous. Apparently, I would always stop and drag my parents to go and look in said river or puddle or pond. I actually, when I was in England a couple of weeks ago, I went to a park I used to go to when I was very, very young, where we used to, very unethically, catch sticklebacks. And it's Stevie GB. If you are from England, you will be aware of sticklebacks. I'm not sure if that's their scientific name, but that's what we grew up calling them. And I would go there with my mum and we would catch them in a bucket, and then we would look at the sticklebacks and then put them back very gently again. So I've always been a naturey, animally person. I used to ride, well I still do sometimes ride. I used to compete on horses, which meant I spent a lot of time outside, and we used to go onto commons and into woodland and stuff. So I've always sort of been outdoorsy. And I came on holiday to South Africa in 2003 with my mum, and I fell for it really hard, to be honest. It was supposed to be same as many people do. They come on safari, come on holiday, and I never quite got over it. We did 8 nights, and I've still got pictures from that trip actually. Oh, they're shocking. Cameras have really advanced, and some of the pictures I thought were amazing that are actually still in my mum and dad's house are absolutely terrible. And then we came back again in 2008, and I had a ranger called Jason. Hello, Jason, if you're listening. And he said, "You are more enthusiastic than a typical guest. Have you thought about it as a career?" And I went, "Oh, that'd be amazing." And but then you go back to your desk job, and I went back to England, and what year was it? 8, 9, 10, 11. 3 or 4 years later, I saw an opportunity to take a career break, so I took a career break to do some guide training, more for fun than anything else, the same as the two guys that came on the course. And I fell in love with the bush, really, and the more I learned and understood, the more I wanted to learn and understand, and it just sort of grew from there. I moved here permanently in 2011, 12, 13, somewhere around there, and I've never looked back. This is my passion. This is my home, and it's my favourite place in the world. So that's the story, Stevie GB. But even if you did want to, if you were able to, lots of the places that do training, you don't have to come and learn and stay forever and become a guide. You can just come and learn, and sometimes the accommodation is rustic, so it eliminates a lot of the cost that you would otherwise have to pay at the 5-star properties. Many people come for 6 months just to learn, just to be. If you're above and beyond just wanting lots of pictures of lions, and you want to understand what this little squirrel's favourite food is and why he's eating it and why they bury things and what their social structure is and all the rest of it, then go for it, is what I say. Many people in England say to me, "Oh, you're so lucky and it's amazing." And in the first few years I used to go back, lots of people I knew from the UK, like, "Oh, you're so lucky and it's amazing what you do and you're so lucky." And I said, "Well, go. You can do it too." And obviously there's people with children, and someone said, "Oh no, I can't come because I've got a cat," which I fully support. And no, you should not be leaving children or animals to gallivant around Africa. But if you are in the situation, or could place yourself in the situation, then why not? I've actually got a very, very good friend who turns out she lived a couple of roads up from me, and she did the year course. She was retired, she qualified as a guide, and she comes back to Africa regularly. But no, she rented her house out and came to Africa for a year, and she actually came back last year to come and stay with me for a bit. But anyway, I'm rambling now. Let's leave this little... they used to be called tree squirrels, but I think they might be called Smith's bush squirrels now. Let's leave him eating whatever deliciousness he is eating, or she, by the looks of it, maybe. Looks like there might be 2 mammary glands there. And I think, I can't remember where we are going, but we are going somewhere else to see what is happening on other cameras somewhere. El Doño. I think we're going across to El Doño. Let's find out. How exciting. Yes, we are. That was lucky. Another... Oh, is this... No, I thought this was the guy with a big rip in his... I never know what to call elephant's ears. Like, to me, or you, as we're looking at him, the ear we can see now is left. It's our left ear, but it's his right ear. And I never quite know how to explain that. But he's having a lovely drink there. Looks like it's already had a good splash. Oh, I have just been reliably informed that this is a very well-known elephant bull called 1 ton. He has got a beautiful set of tusks. I would be fascinated to look how frayed his ears are. Shame, it looks like his ears have been through a shredder or something, the tips of his ears. I would love to know if anyone's got any information about where that name... Oh, okay. Well done. Thank you, MC. You You are way ahead of me. The name One Ton originates from Richard Bonham's from the Big Life Foundation. It comes from Richard's racing youth, when he would get his cars up to 100 kilometres an hour, or 1 ton. This is almost as quick as 1 ton used to charge at humans in the early days. I can imagine, and that is a rather large elephant. Hello, 1 ton, and I'm glad you're over there on the other side of the camera. They are beautiful tusks, but it does take, I'm not sure how, look how afraid those ears are. I'm not sure how this elephant is with humans or vehicles these days, but it does take time for animals to habituate, it's not quite the right word, to understand that as a rule, depending on where they are, humans or vehicles are not dangerous, because in many areas humans and vehicles are dangerous. So you can understand where that fear comes from. That's a lovely scene. I'm not sure what the temperatures are there at the moment, but what a lovely clear, looks like a lovely still day there in Eldorado in Kenya. Let's pop over to Wangi. We'll have a look. We'll see what's happening at those other cameras over there. See who we have got. But that's a lovely scene. Blue skies, white fluffy clouds. Nice and still and peaceful. And that's really interesting, that information on 1 ton there. I've not heard of him before. Oh, hello, gorgeous. Now, you see, people always go, oh, Marabou socks. I think there's something appealing about them. And they've gone, that's sad. We had a frozen feed there at Wangi, but they were definitely marabou stalks, and I find them appealing. That's what we've learnt from that. I was trying to find out the sexual demographics of elephants in Tembe. I suppose it fluctuates. It's difficult to find information about often even numbers of animals. I think I saw a game count from the Kruger fairly recently, and I think it was like 2011 or something was the last game count. It's like, I think there may have been a few ins and outs since then. It's difficult to get good figures and numbers, but we know as a rule more females than adult bulls, but I feel like I've only seen adult bulls here. Hello, little baby impala. That one is quite small, actually. Lots of the impalas I've been seeing recently are growing rapidly, but maybe this was a slightly late one. Where's the rest of them? I've just found a paper on the sexual demographic of population demography of Maputo-land elephants, but I think that's going to take me quite a long time to read that, so I think what I will do, I will share that with myself and read it later and report back soon. Oh, that's so cute. I love it when these little babies stretch. When you find them all laying down in the shade in their little creches. If you unfortunately drive past them and it causes them to get up, which I always try and avoid, but I don't always manage it. You know, you don't scare them, but they sort of slowly stand. And lots of those young ones, I've noted many of the young ones, they'll often do that big scratch, and look how that little one is grooming there, using those bottom teeth like a comb, combing through his coat. Managing any ticks or bugs. I've also just had a report that may not have been 1 ton, but a very similar size elephant to 1 ton, and it can sometimes be difficult to identify these elephants. He had very frayed ears, but both of his tusks were very clean, and people will often identify elephants either by area or by their tusks or by nicks and things in their ears. Otherwise they're often just like big grey, unless they've lost a tail or something. Otherwise they're all just big grey elephants. So that may not have been 1 ton, but very similar. This little one's having a good groom. Now this is actually quite interesting, because when we talk about, see, that's some pretty decent yoga there. Often when people talk about the black markings on an impala's bum, which that impala is not currently going to show us, one of the theories behind those markings is that it's darker fur, the marking is dark, and one of the theories is that, I wonder if you can see nicely on the female, one of the theories is these dark markings on their bums, it's a darker area of fur. There we go, that's a lovely view. And ticks will migrate to those dark areas because they're warmer. Now when I was watching that little one, that was a very flexible youngster, and I'm not totally convinced that little one could have got to those dark lines on its bum. And I've never really thought about it before, but one of the theories behind it is that ticks migrate to that darker area. But could that little one have reached those dark lines on its back end? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. But this is lovely seeing these impala. See, how's that impala going to reach those black lines? I could be wrong. Let's leave these impala. Let's stay with this impala for just another minute while they groom each other, because that's really cute. You see, they're grooming each other's necks. They can't reach each other's necks. They can't reach their own necks, but they can reach each other's. Check that. Look. This is how animals communicate. Yes, they're serving a function. They're trying to get bugs off, but also lots of time bonding. See, this would be an identifiable elephant. I'm sure someone will recognize this boy because of that very clear missing tusk. I've got a very good friend who suggested to me once that elephants with broken or snapped or damaged tusks should be given a little bit of extra space, because his theory is there's a reason those tusks are damaged or missing or broken, and it's not because he walks away from arguments. Put it that way. It could just be bad luck. Sometimes we do see genetic defects, but when they're often cracked and broken, it could be. See, the more I think about these things, it could be like something deficient in a diet that means the tusks are more liable to snap. There's lots of reasons it could be, but his theory is that they're broken because they don't walk away from arguments. So give them that little bit of extra space, and the boys with the beautiful, unmarked, clean ivory, they haven't used the ivory to have any arguments with anyone or anything, therefore it's left unmarked. So that's his theory. I have nothing whatsoever to prove this one way or the other, but I think the theory is probably sound. Let's go back across to the fabulous Tau Game Lodge. Very rarely is that waterhole quiet. It's nice to see actually that I know there were some images of that waterhole after that big rain they had, and it seems the water has definitely receded back again, and from what I understand, I don't think there was any damage to the lodge. Elephants for days this afternoon. It's quite a nice view of this male, and see how come on, put your trunk down. It's quite a smooth forehead, so sort of quite rounded, sort of almost a nice curve down from the top of his ears, sort of a nice smooth line down his head and then down onto his trunk. That's another way I often... Oh, speeding up. Who are you going to chase? Going to chase someone? Sometimes can be helpful when you're sexing elephants, working out if they're male or female. The females have a much more angular... It goes sort of from the top of their ears and it goes sort of across in a straight line, and then it drops not quite 90 degrees, but it's much more angular, the front of their heads there. Having a little sniff. Could be sniffing that dung, could be checking if it's from a female, seeing if she's maybe an estrus, or checking her reproductive state. I think if I was going to choose to be one of the animals in one of these areas, I think I would maybe pick to be a big male elephant. I suppose there is the problem that you're always hungry. You've always got to find lots of food and lots of water. I might reconsider. In the meantime, though, I would love you to let us know what you would be and why. What animal would you pick to be? in Tau, let's say on this particular camera, for example, in this game reserve, in the general vicinity of this lodge, what wild animal would you be and why? Oh, actually I might change to crocodile. Crocodiles are quite cool. You don't mess with a crocodile. You can go ages without eating, so you don't have to spend all the time hunting. Don't chase the heron, that's not friendly. No, I think I'm going to swap. I think I'm going to be a crocodile instead. Don't have to expend too much energy. Be really unfortunate if you did end up getting hunted by something, unless it was a big crocodile. I actually saw a clip the other day of lions hunting a crocodile. A pride of 10 lions. I'm not sure where it was. And I think they got it. It was a decent sized crocodile as well. Yeah, I think I'm going to be one of those Tau crocodiles. So some zebras there in the background. I'm just having a look at my zebra graphic that I refound the other day. So one of the species on here is the quagga, which is sadly no longer with us. And the others, we've got grevies up in the far north of their range, a Baum oder Grant zebra, a Croshay zebra, a Chapman zebra, Damara zebra, then our Birchall's zebra, Capberg zebra, and a Hartmannsberg zebra. I would have been able to name 3 of those. Another nice big elephant bull. I see he's got very different tusks. They're certainly not the same length. Turn and face this boy. So elephants are often right or left tusked, but they're quite thin. They're quite long, they're quite thin and straight, those tusks, and it does look like that one on our right, his left, is snapped there. But they are quite thin, so if he bumped, see, he's smelling that dung. If he bumped tusks with one of those big El Doño elephants, this guy is going to come off definitely not better. But yeah, see, I think he's sniffing that ground. I'm sure I know there's often breeding herds or family herds of elephants here, and he may well be checking to see if there's any reproductive females in estrus. He is displeased with what he has obtained. And he is carrying on his way. Elephants have a brilliant sense of smell. Someone once said to me to work out what senses are strong on an animal, look at them. So if they've got big ears, good sense of hearing, big eyes, good sight, and these guys obviously pretty big trunks. Let's go over to Elephant Pan. I wonder if we may have elephants there, but we may not. This is the beauty of being able to swap between these locations. Find out who may be visiting Elephant Pan. Ah, there's an elephant. Another nice big... It's all the boys, isn't it? We see lots of these male elephants. And this very interesting area with these... I don't know what trees they are. Can anyone confirm? Is it Mopani? I can't tell what sort of trees they are, but lots of dead stumps here. I can't tell what trees they are. I would guess it might be Mopani. And it seems Elephant Pan was not agreeing with my Mopani statement, so we have gone back over here to Tenby Elephant Park. Is this boy feeding in there? Is he feeding? Let's watch. He is indeed feeding. But it looks like he's taking... Looks like he's in the water feeding. And elephants will feed on a sort of water plants or stuff in the water. And it makes a really nice change in their diet, and obviously those water-loving plants do contain more water. What are you doing? I'm not convinced he was feeding then. No. Back to the mudding. Just listen to that bird calling in the background. See, if I play this call to check, you're all going to hear it, and then you're going to know if I'm right or not, but that's okay. Oh no, you won't actually, because it's going to be in my ear. I thought it was a tropical brew, but maybe it's... Wow, you get so rusty. I get so rusty when I don't hear all these birds on a regular basis. Gosh. Right, Jessica, thank you very much for that, Jessica. I'm going to try doing exactly what you suggest. I'm going to find a photo of 1 ton. I do not know 1 ton. Let's have a look, so I won't get it wrong again. Oh wow, he is super easily identifiable. Jessica, thank you. He is very easy to identify. They are epic tusks, but they are also completely and utterly different. That is great info, and anyone else that is watching or listening, I would suggest doing the same, and you will never not recognise that elephant ever again. Thank you, Jessica, I appreciate it. And Ellie is enjoying our bi-coloured elephants. Wet elephant and dry elephant are of course completely different colours, and then depending on the substrate, lots of very red elephants there in Madikwe as well. You get the white ghost elephants up there in the Etosha and the salt pans. And this looks like a lovely big male Inyala. I'm just trying to think how often I've seen male Inyalas drink. It's such a risky business for these antelope to be at the water's edge. Brilliant camouflage, and I always really enjoy the... What's he doing? Oh, is he putting mud? Oh, come out from behind the tree and do that, boy, if you're going to do that, because that's very cool to see. It looks like he's putting mud on his horns. Yes, he is. Oh, don't do it behind the tree. Come on, show us. That's not very helpful of him, was it? But it looked like to me, from what I could see, that he was coating his horns with mud, or digging those horns down into the mud. And lots of males, who else does it? Some wildebeest do it. They'll display by thrashing the ground or digging into mud. Some people say it's to make them look bigger. Oh, and off you go. Bye, Mr. Inyala. Maybe something gave him a fright there. Often put mud on their horns to make them look bigger, make them look stronger, make those horns look thicker. Maybe to warn off other males, or maybe impress the lady Inyalas. Apparently someone just heard some alarm calls here somewhere, and that Inyala did just run. So let's keep a close eye out and make sure we're not missing anything. Ellie's saying, nice guy, Mr. Inyala Bull. He was indeed a lovely boy, but he has left. He has left the area. But you just never know who might stroll up here. I didn't pick up any alarm calls, but I could have missed them. Yeah, I'm sure. I wonder how often there's a lion or a leopard or something sitting at the bottom of these cameras, where we can't quite see them, just out of reach there. Bus, you're asking how good swimmers, or are Inyala good swimmers? They can swim. Whether or not, who or what they would beat in a 100-metre dash, I don't know. But they can swim. Lots of animals can swim. Not all, but it's What are you doing, elephant? Just gonna have a little lie down there. Interesting. Yes, Spas, they can swim. This is weird. What are these guys doing? That was a funny little interaction. That elephant sort of laid down. It looked like to have maybe have a scratch or a rub or something. And the other one, relatively unfairly, wandered over and gave him a bit of a nudge. Nudged a man when he was down. Ooh, I know that call. And I had a conversation with he's okay, we know exactly what he's doing there. That is an excellent spot to do that as well, I think. There's a bird calling that says, "Pretty Georgie." And I had a conversation with someone very recently about this bird because it's a very distinctive call. I can't remember which one it was. I can find out though. That is an exceptionally good termite mound to be doing that on, and it's maybe you should be a little bit careful. But what do I know? Look how he's got his trunk looks like it's coiled like a snake up there. See, this looks like a little bit of communication going on here. There's one elephant happily scratching his penis there on the left, while these other two, that was an interaction between these other two that were not engaged in scratching, and that to me looked like a potential could have been an argument, but they stood equidistant apart, no one moved, and then the one that was slightly closer to us dropped her shoulder and just walked off, so it seems like it gave way to the other one. But this is all communication with animals from a long way away. There's definitely plenty of elephants here, and I am going to read this paper and find out what the current male-female split is here at Tenby Elephant Park. But in the meantime, let's go over to El Dunio, and I think we might have a lovely giraffe over there. Oh, and an elephant. With a giraffe behind the elephant. It's got that giraffe head sticking out from behind the elephant. That looks funny. So I did do some reading the other day after not realising that Aldonio had Maasai a giraffe. The giraffe Tipple Screechy. So I've got large dark brown patches. Some people would say they're shaped a little bit like vine leaves. Those patches on the coat with fairly jaggedy edges, and they've got sort of a brown edging to them as well there. No patterns down their legs, but we can't see them at the moment. There we go. I'm not sure if it was it here that an elephant bumped a giraffe? But this giraffe gave that elephant plenty of space, as would I. And I'm really glad you can't see me again because I'm peering in here, looking at these jaggedy, vine-shaped patches. I've been desperately waiting for us to see a rhino somewhere, so I could tell you about what I learnt last night. I actually went to a fascinating talk last night about black rhino and speciation of black rhino, and the very excellent speaker, Professor Moodley, I think his name was. Fascinating talk about black rhino genetics, and he actually said he doesn't there are many distinctly different, genetically different populations of animals, but that doesn't necessarily make them a subspecies. They're genetically different populations, and I think this is the same for many animals, including the giraffe. And I think that's probably why there has been some, species, subspecies. The graphic I can see is southern giraffe, or South African or Angolan is a southern giraffe, a subspecies. There's a southern South African giraffe and the Angolan giraffe are subspecies. And he was saying it's more about genetically different populations. Flick, flick. And here the northern giraffe, encompassed in the northern giraffe, the Godorphin giraffe, the Numbian giraffe, and the West African giraffe. Is a northern giraffe a subspecies of a giraffe, or is a Godorphin giraffe a subspecies of a northern giraffe? It's taxonomy can be quite complex. But either way, Ellie, yes, I agree. Certainly an enormous boy there. Penelope Kenyon, thank you very much, Penelope. Yes, it was here that giraffe was, say, speared, bumped. Hello, welcome. Was bumped by that elephant, which is quite unusual. Not something I've seen before. Are you going to go in there, Mr. Warthog, with all those giraffes? The bird calling that I heard, which I firmly believe was saying "pretty Georgie," I think may have been an emerald cuckoo. Are you going to get right in there, Warthog? Good for you. I could be wrong. but I was recently discussing that very distinctive pretty Georgie, or possibly a red-capped robin chat, but I think maybe an emerald cuckoo. But that rather brazen warthog got straight in there. Had a little splash. I always go quiet when giraffes drink. Is he going back? Oh, she going to go back down for? She is going to go back down for another drink. Spas, yes. There's a beautiful giraffe, and I'm really paying more attention. They've all got such individual markings. Some of them are more jagged, some of them are more curved. A nice little group here is male, a few females, looks like a young male there on the left possibly. And yes, I believe there are rhinos at El Doño. Every time I've seen giraffe here, it seems they're in groups. It seems that in this area they spend time in mixed groups, which is unsurprising, but not always the case. Deb Davis, yes, the size difference is unbelievable. I find it very difficult to brown eagles. I find particularly difficult unless one brown eagle is sitting next to a different brown eagle, and you can clearly see how different they are in size. I find it difficult to scale sometimes, like a rhino on Monday. I couldn't work out if it was a male or female or adult or young one, and then the camera panned, and it was indeed a young one because there was a much bigger female next to it. But Deb, it's really nice to see when they stand together like this, just to give you a better idea of the difference in size of some of these animals. Yeah, it's interesting to see the giraffe here. I wonder if Maasai giraffe, because I've never been to Kenya. I wonder, but we're taught that giraffe have a undefined social structure. Sometimes they'll be together, sometimes they won't. They'll meet and split and be wherever food resources are. I suppose there is water here, but I wonder if... Oh, that's a nice shot of that coat pattern. Lovely. Thank you, whoever's done that. That's a really nice image of those jaggedy vine leaf. Yeah, it could be. Especially that sort of triangular one. Does look like a vine leaf. Whether or not Maasai giraffe are more likely to be gregarious than other giraffe. But I suppose this is a water point. But I don't think I've ever seen giraffe drinking here on their own. So look, this one is a knees bendy forward, and the other one is going to be a leg stretchy outie. This reminds me of Oh, I haven't played it for years, but oh, that's a lovely image of those coats. All completely different as well. But I can see why they'd be described as possibly looking like a vine leaf or a leaf. And my infographic here says no patches on the lower legs. I would be inclined to dispute that because I can see patches on these giraffes' legs. So it just goes to show I mean they're not as patchy as the top part, but I would say there's definitely a few patches on those lower legs. And the research shall continue, I guess. Not clear patches. See, now I think about it, I don't know what I don't know what my local giraffe's legs look like. Oh, where are you going? I made them jump. There's a nice snoozy elephant there in the background. Go green Malawi. How tall do giraffes grow? Males anywhere between 5.5, maybe even up to 6 meters in height. Huge animals. The females slightly smaller, maybe up to 4.5, 5 meters. But yeah, the males, big males, can grow between almost up to 6 meters. And Ellie, yes, they do. Everyone's got a completely different pattern. Like zebras have completely different stripes. You'll never find a zebra twice with the same splodges, markings. Coat markings is probably more official. I think I've just been told there might be some baboons somewhere, and I love watching baboons. I would love to go and have a look at some baboons. Does make me slightly nervous watching baboons publicly and needing to discuss what is going on there, because we know baboons have no shame, let's put it that way, and nor should they. But let's see what we've got going on here. Spaz, no, I have not seen the new Black Eagle cam on Africam. That must be very cool. I wonder if that's, I'm going to guess, I wonder if that wouldn't be at that place near Johannesburg. I know they've got a breeding pair that are very well known down there. That Walter, there's a botanical gardens place. If anyone can tell me where that new Black Eagle camera is, that would be super cool if it is where I think it is. And I would definitely be keen to have a look at that. Johan Mello, have a good Wednesday, everyone. Thank you, Wild Earth. Thank you, Joanne. It's a pleasure to have you here. I hope you are continue to have a good Wednesday. In the meantime, let's have a look and see what these baboons are up to. I love watching baboons. There's a pearl-spotted owlet calling in the background, I can hear. I have just been advised that yes, that Black Eagle camera is indeed where I thought it was. That is so cool. I follow a couple of birding pages on Facebook, and there are regular updates on that Black Eagle family, so now I could go look for myself. That's awesome. We're so lucky to be able to access all these areas. I've got a not quite to the extent of, well, no, actually no, I think it's brilliant. I've got a tiny little bird bath in my garden here in the wildlife estate, and I've put, it's supposed to be a security camera, but it's not. It's plugged in outside, and I'm sure it's going to break soon because I don't think it's an outside camera. But I've had all sorts of things visiting my. I've had banded mongoose, dwarf mongoose, porcupine. I've got a regular daker that comes. I've had a big male waterbuck coming to drink out my tiny little bird bath at night recently. So. And I get really excited about checking it because it's motion detection. And I wake up in the morning and say, oh, who's come? Oh, I've had a genet. Really nice views of a large spotted genet a couple of times. So I'm just waiting for our elusive aardvark to turn up. But this baboon is in heaven. Look at that. Absolute do under there. Under there. Do it. If you could just do under there for me. Yep. Just get in there. Jessica, baboons are some of my favourite primates. I agree. I really, really enjoy watching them, Jessica. I think they're very entertaining. They're always doing something. Whether it's appropriate viewing for children or not is another matter. Look at that big baboon. God, just get in there. Just get a couple of those. Oh, okay. Apparently, we've now got a new live black eagle nest in Salati Game Reserve, which we can also view. So, black eagles nesting. Always lovely watching those chicks grow up, and it's nice to be able to keep eyes on them, so we don't lose track of them because everything else obviously moves around. But this big baboon is moving under there. That's so funny. Absolute ecstasy. Armpit, please. And again, this is all such vital communication, family bonding. People think it's just that, younger members of a family group will groom the breeding animals or the older animals in a family group, but it's not the case. Animals will swap round. Sometimes the elders will groom the youngers, sometimes the youngers will groom the youngers. It's all developing those bonds. Communication via body language. Deb, apparently I've just been told it used to be the Black Eagle camera at the Walter Sulu Gardens, which is the one I was thinking of. But it's actually a new location, a new live Black Eagle nest location at Salati Game Reserve. So if you go to the cameras and look for Salati, I'm not sure if it'll just be called Salati, so not Shalati, but Salati, Selati, which is 30 minutes from where I am. you'll find a live black eagle nest there. See, what's that one on the left thinking? What's he thinking? Have a little drink. Maybe he was just checking the edge of the water, make sure there's no crocodiles. See these big baboons when they sit like that. It makes me think they should be wearing a cap and smoking a pipe and reading a newspaper. They just sort of sit and observe things. Show us those canines. Yeah, I would not be messing with a baboon. And people often forget baboons hunt, and they hunt well. I've never actually seen it, but they will hunt impala lambs, and those canines get put to very good use. Oh, they're big animals. Oh, nearly yawned. We're going to leave this big old boy surveying his domain peacefully and quietly. But no, I also really do enjoy watching baboons when they're not near humans. I could watch them for hours and hours. But let's go across to the hide, and we will see what's happening across at the hide. Wow, that's cool. Again, Wangi National Park. Look at that lovely scene. Impalas, zebras. Possibly, I thought I was going to say it's either a stick or a heron. I've now worked out it's a heron because it moved its head. Look at that. Is that a little cheeky hippo there on the left, or is it a rock? I'm going to guess hippo until I see more. It could be a rock. Beautiful big tall grey heron. These herons, we often don't get too close to them, but they're big. They're almost a metre. So they're big, tall birds. And that whap, whap, whap noise, I think, is a chin spot batis, believe it or not. I spent a long time, it was actually at Tau, I heard a bird making a funny sound, and I think that's possibly a secondary call of a chin spot batis, that whack, whack. I have been to Wangi National Park. I've been once, a good few years ago. I actually went with I'm sure you've heard me talking about, I went on a road trip with one of my best friends from England, and we drove up. She travelled from Johannesburg up through the Kruger, up through Botswana, onto Victoria Falls, and we spent one night in Wangi National Park. It was, what time of year was it? I can't remember what time of year it was, but we only stayed there for one night. We saw some elephants. We didn't find any of the big dams, but my lasting memory of Wangi National Park was we stayed at a slightly strange location. I can't even remember what it was called, but we were on a budget, and we stayed somewhere for the night that when we got there, my man said the power's going to be turned off at 5, and we sort of went, okay. So we settled in for the night. We thought there might be a shop there, but we found a sort of room that had some pilchards and some flour in, so we didn't have any dinner that night. I think we had crisps for dinner. Probably should have done our research slightly better. And my lasting memory of that, the power went off and we sort of sat there in the dark. We had a couple of torches, but we sat there in the dark for a couple of hours, and so I said, well, we might as well go to sleep. And there was a barn owl calling, and my friend was sort of quite freaked out by the whole experience. She said, I just see Spaz is asking now, yeah, what animals have we seen? We saw I think we saw some waterbuck, we saw some impalas. We weren't really game viewing as such. We just needed somewhere to stay for the night, and we were sort of passing on through to Victoria Falls. Beautiful grey heron there. But yeah, the lasting memory was a barn owl started calling, and if anyone knows what a barn owl sounds like, it's one of the screech owls. So you get I can't remember the proper names for them, but you get the hooty owls and the screechy owls, and the barn owl is one of the screechy owls. And my friend was slightly panicked because it is quite an upsetting sound. I'm desperately trying to open an app here so I can play it for you, because no one wants me to hear me doing an impression of a barn owl. Let's see, is this going to work? I don't know if you can all hear that. That is the sound. Sorry if that was really loud in my microphone, but that's the sound a Western barn owl made, and that's how loud it felt in the middle of the night in a very dark location where we weren't quite sure where we were. And I spent quite a lot of time trying to pacify my friend. That I say, no, it's just an owl, don't worry. She's like, something's being murdered. I was like, no, it's just an owl. But that was my lasting memory of Wangi National Park. So Spaz, we definitely heard barn owl. Yes, Ellie, I also heard that emerald spotted wood dove calling. Dave's looking at the beautiful acacias in the background. Well, Dave, are they Senegalias or Brachelias now? I think that's a hippo. That blob in the water there. I'm not totally convinced. But lovely scenes with all these impalas coming down for a drink. Some nice zebras. And I've just been checking. Apparently there's access to 34 different locations now. Whether or not they're all on at the same time or viewable at the same time, I'm not too sure. But that is a lot of cameras. And what an absolute joy to be able to access all those different locations from the power of your living room. Penelope Kennett, yeah, it was quite creepy. I think more it sounded like an animal being killed or something, and in the dark there at an unknown location. It was we didn't get much sleep that night, let's put it that way. but we couldn't leave before it got light. So yeah, we spent the night listening to a terrifying sound from a very small dark hut in the middle of Wangi National Park. But yeah, I probably should have done better research, but hey ho, we live and learn. So yeah, if you go to Wangi National Park, you may hear a western barn owl. It echoed. That screech echoed through the darkness. There's so many places to go though. There's so many places to go and so many things to see. Oh, that was my western barn owl playing again. And these cameras give us access to so many of them, and it can give you an introduction to an area, and it can lure you in. It can persuade you that that's definitely a place that you want to go and spend time. Spas, yes, I would love to go back to Wangi. There's lots of places I would like to go back to. Like I said, I've never been to Kenya or Tanzania, depending on your pronunciation. I've just never had the opportunity. We need to make more opportunities to travel. Dave Judge, I apologise. You are a proud Zimbabwean, and you are suggesting that I and everyone else goes to explore the fantastic Wangi National Park. Yeah, like I said, I was just there for a night. It was more a passing through stop off. But there's so many places to go, and even not just Africa. Like I think I said on Monday, I've never been to a national park in the States. And the States is big. I've been to Australia. I didn't really spend that much time in nature there either. I spent some time at beaches and sort of a little bit of forest around beaches. But it's just finding the time. But we must make the time. I think I saw a thing a friend of mine put on Facebook a couple of days ago. It was travel as much as you can, as far as you can, for as long as you can. And I completely support this idea. One place I would love to go to South America. I really wanted to go to the Pantanal, to go looking for jaguars, and the birding in the Pantanal is supposed to be insane, and find those giant anteaters and all things like that. But it's finding the time and finding the money, and it's not available to everyone. And it's one of the things that makes these cameras so special, is from the comfort of your living room or your kitchen while you're making dinner or anything else, you've got access to all of this nature. But no, the Pantanal the Pantanal, the Andes or the Rockies are going to be, one of those three is going to be my next big trip. Lady Macbeth. Lady Macbeth, you say, for someone from England not recognising a barn owl's call. I agree, but not everyone I'm learning more and more. Unless you're in tune with nature, you don't notice. You need to be in a semi-ruralish area. I know barn owls and tawny owls that are all over the place in England. I actually heard a tawny owl when I was there now. But you don't pick it up if you're living in cities and stuff. You either don't hear it or the owls aren't there. But no, I agree. And yeah, bush babies also horrendous sound. And trumpeter hornbills, also quite a disturbing sound if you don't know what you're listening to. Those bush babies and trumpeter hornbills. Also quite quite disturbing to listen to, especially at night, when you have no power and you don't know what else is out there. Wild at heart, you're giving me information. There's 3 official places to stay in Wangi National Park: Robbins Camp, Cinematella Camp, and Main Camp. I honestly can't remember, to be honest. It was quite a while ago, and we stayed at a lot of places on that trip, so I honestly can't remember. But great to know that there are places you can stay within the. Oh, it was a hippo. There are definitely places you can stay within the park, which is a great opportunity. I think just for the last couple of minutes, let's go over to Stony Point, and I think we can catch up with our nest. We haven't got too long left, but it would be great to see what's happening with our nest there at Stony Point if we get time, just to keep an eye on things, make sure no one's making an appearance without us knowing about it. There we go. Oh, that's actually a better view today. I can indeed see that's a penguin today, and I can see it's facing right. It's got its face behind the hanging down foliage there. But I think we must keep a close eye on this penguin nest. I think apparently it's been there for about a week, somewhere around there. Maybe around about 40 days for hatching. And we must keep an eye on everything. Oh, apparently the other half of this penguin duo went out this morning, went out to look for some food. They do both take it in turns. To go out and find food. And Ellie, Chinspot Battis and red-chested cuckoo, 3-note calls. Chinspot Battis, I will do an impression, is bid my fro. No, that is the red-chested cuckoo, and Chinspot Battis is 3 blind mice. That's how I learned it. So bid my fro is the red-chested cuckoo, and 3 blind mice, Chinspot Battis. But they also make a sort of quacking sort of sound. I'll see if I can find it for next time. Catherine, we should get some cameras outside Africa. I am all over that, Catherine. Please, anyone that's listening, that is a brilliant suggestion. I would fully support getting some cameras from outside of Africa. Maybe we could get some in the UK. Deb, thank you for being here. Kelly, it was a pleasure. Thank you, Deb Davis. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. I hope to be back soon, without any microphone-based issues. And we will leave our little penguin chilling here on their nest. I will bid a good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for joining. I hope to see you back here soon. And in the meantime, keep an eye on those cameras and watch for any exciting things. See you again soon, and thank you for joining us here on Live at the Waterhole.